Hey Yankees fans, welcome to Yankees Rumors and News, your go-to spot for the latest buzz and updates about our team. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a scoop. The New York Yankees continue to move through this offseason in a way that feels deliberate, almost cautious. And that approach is shaping the conversation around what the outfield might look like when opening day of 2026 finally arrives. While fans wait for a headline move that truly shifts the balance of the American League, the reality is that the organization is clearly preparing for multiple scenarios at once. One of those scenarios involves missing out on Cody Bellinger, a name that has dominated speculation for weeks, and pivoting toward a more measured, pragmatic addition. In that context, Austin Hays has emerged as a potential target, not as a franchise-altering acquisition, but as a player who represents stability, competence, and a known quantity at a position that has been inconsistent for the Yankees in recent seasons. The idea of Hays in pinstripes immediately sparks mixed reactions, and that is understandable. This is a player many Yankees fans know well, largely because of his years with the Orioles, where he often seemed to save some of his best moments for games against New York. The Yankees' outfield production over the past few seasons has left much to be desired, oscillating between injury issues, streaky performances, and a lack of dependable everyday contributors outside of a select few stars. Against that backdrop, Hays feels like a safe option, but also one that lacks the excitement typically associated with a Yankees offseason move. If he were signed as the primary solution rather than part of a broader plan, the reaction would almost certainly be underwhelming. According to reports circulating around the league, the Yankees are indeed one of the teams monitoring Hays, but the interest appears closely tied to how their pursuit of Bellinger ultimately plays out. Earlier in the offseason, there was even talk of the Yankees exploring options like Kyle Tucker if Bellinger negotiations fell apart, a notion that underscored just how wide the spectrum of possible outcomes really was. Tucker, however, represents a completely different tier of player, a true superstar whose availability would reshape the entire roster construction. Hays, by contrast, fits much more cleanly into the role of a contingency plan, a player who can be added without drastically altering the payroll structure or the long-term outlook of the team. Looking back at Hays' most recent season provides useful context for why the Yankees might view him as a worthwhile addition. In 2025, he appeared in 103 games, logging for 116 plate appearances. His slash line of .266 batting average, .315 on-base percentage, and for .5.3 slugging percentage reflects a player who can still contribute offensively at a league average or slightly above average level. He hit 15 home runs, drove in 64 runs, and posted a weighted runs created plus of 105, indicating he was 5% better than league average with the bat. Defensively, he added modest value, finishing with 1 out above average, and his overall contribution amounted to roughly 1 point to wins above replacement by Fangraphs. Projections for the upcoming season paint a slightly more conservative picture, which is typical for a player entering his early 30s with a track record that includes both peaks and valleys. Fangraphs depth charts project Hays to appear in around 123 games, with 530 to plate appearances, hitting approximately 2-for-2 with an on-base percentage just under 300 and a slugging percentage a touch above 400. The expected home run total sits at 15 once. Again, with around 63 runs batted in and a weighted runs created plus in the low 90s. That projection translates to less than half a win above replacement, suggesting that while he remains useful, he is no longer expected to be a cornerstone piece. Hays' journey over the past couple of seasons adds another layer to the discussion. After being a steady presence in Baltimore from 2021 through 2023, a stretch that included an all-star appearance and a division title season, with over 100 wins, his production dipped toward the end of his time there. A brief and disappointing stint with the Phillies in 2024 further muddied his value heading into free agency. Signing a one-year deal with the Reds proved to be a reset of sorts, giving Hays an opportunity to reestablish himself as a reliable big league outfielder. In Cincinnati, he showed enough to remind teams why he had once been viewed as a solid everyday player. One of Hays' most intriguing traits, especially from the Yankees' perspective, is his reputation as a left-handed pitching specialist. In 2025, he absolutely punished southpaws, posting an on-base plus slugging percentage just shy of 1.000. in over 100 plate appearances against left-handed pitching. That skill set alone gives him immediate value in a platoon-heavy lineup, particularly one that has struggled at times to generate consistent production against lefties. Interestingly, though, the majority of his home runs came against right-handed pitchers, with 13 of his 15 long balls occurring in those matchups. This was less a reflection of dominance against righties and more a function of opportunity, as he faced far more right-handed pitchers over the course of the season. Even so, his overall numbers against right-handers were more modest, with an on-base plus slugging percentage hovering just above .700. For the Yankees, the appeal of Hayes lies in how neatly he could fit into a defined role. In an ideal scenario, he would be brought in primarily as a platoon option in left field, complementing a younger player like Jason Dominguez, who is better suited to handle right-handed pitching. Hayes' experience would also allow him to step into a full-time role of injury strike, something the Yankees have had to contend with far too often in recent years, because he is likely to command only a short-term, one-year deal at a reasonable price. The financial risk would be minimal and the flexibility preserved. There is also the matter of familiarity. Hayes has played a significant number of games in the Bronx already, and in that relatively small sample, he has performed quite well. Over 25 games at Yankee Stadium, he has posted a near .300 batting average, with an on-base percentage in the mid-300s, and a slugging percentage north of .500, including 6 home runs. While no one should build expectations solely on such a limited sample, it does offer a hint that the environment does not overwhelm him, something that cannot be said for every opposing player who eventually dons pinstripes. Still, the concern surrounding a potential Hayes signing has less to do with his actual ability, and more to do with context. If the Yankees miss out on Bellinger and respond by adding Hayes as their primary outfield acquisition, the move would place an enormous amount of pressure on both the player and the front office. Fans would inevitably compare the modest nature of the signing to the bold moves made by rivals, and every slump would be magnified. Conversely, if Hayes were added as a complementary piece alongside a more impactful acquisition, the narrative would shift dramatically, casting him as a smart, low-risk addition rather than a consolation prize. There is also the question of opportunity cost. The Yankees have several younger outfielders pushing for playing time, and adding a veteran like Hayes could limit those opportunities, at least in the short term. From Hayes' perspective, accepting a reduced role might not be particularly appealing either, especially if he believes he can still contribute as more than just a platoon bat. Balancing those competing interests is part of the challenge facing the Yankees' decision-makers as they map out the roster. One final point worth noting is that Hayes' performance in Cincinnati was not overly inflated by his home ballpark, despite its reputation as a hitter-friendly environment. In fact, his on-base plus slugging percentage was higher on the road than at home, a detail that helps alleviate concerns about how his numbers might translate to a different setting. When viewed alongside his career norms, his 2025 production looks fairly representative rather than anomalous, suggesting that the projections for the upcoming season, while cautious, are grounded in reality. Ultimately, Austin Hayes represents a fork in the road for the Yankees' offseason narrative. As a standalone move following a high-profile miss, he would feel insufficient and invite criticism. As part of a layered approach that blends star power with depth and flexibility, he makes a great deal of sense. The decision will say as much about the organization's philosophy moving forward as it does about Hayes himself, and until that picture becomes clearer, his name will continue to hover on the edge of the Yankees' plans, waiting for the moment when a backup plan becomes a reality. If you're enjoying the updates, drop a like and let us know in the comments your thoughts on this rumor. The baseball world woke up buzzing with whispers that feel too loud to ignore. The kind of murmurs that start in the shadows of clubhouses and somehow echo all the way up to the bleachers of the Bronx. Round the league, people are calling it a seismic shake, a true BRONX earthquake, because the New York Yankees are being linked to an offensive and pitching package so outrageous that executives, players, and fans alike are rubbing their eyes and asking if this is really happening. According to the rumor mill that never sleeps, the Yankees have quietly positioned themselves to land Roki Sasaki, Mookie Betts, and Garrett Crochet in one sweeping move. A trio that on paper looks less like a roster decision and more like a declaration of dominance. No official statements, no formal confirmation, just that unmistakable sense that something massive is brewing behind closed doors. Inside the Bronx, the atmosphere is said to be electric and tense at the same time. Because this kind of speculation does not come out of nowhere. The Yankees have a long history of striking when the league least expects it, and insiders are suggesting that this package is being framed internally as a reset of identity rather than just a talent grab. Roki Sasaki, with his mystique and raw power on the mound, represents the global reach of modern baseball, and the Yankees' willingness to look beyond traditional borders. The idea of him wearing pinstripes has already sent imaginations racing, because it symbolizes not just an arm, but an era of international influence that could redefine how the franchise is perceived worldwide. Then there is the Mookie Betts angle, which might be the loudest shockwave of all. Betts is not just a superstar bat or a highlight reel defender. He is a cultural force within the game, a player whose presence alone shifts expectations in a clubhouse. The rumor swirling is that the Yankees see him as the missing heartbeat in an offense that wants to feel inevitable again. The kind of lineup presence that changes how opposing pitchers sleep the night before a series. Fans are already picturing the sound of the crowd rising when Betts steps into the box. Not because of a confirmed deal, but because the possibility itself feels intoxicating. Like the kind of bold move only this franchise dares to imagine. Garrett Crochet's name adds another layer of intrigue to this unfolding story, because his profile fits perfectly into the Yankees' obsession with power arms and controllable upside. The whispers suggest that the front office views Crochet as both an immediate weapon and a long-term pillar, someone who can bridge the gap between now and the future. Pairing him with Sasaki, even in speculation, paints a picture of a rotation built not just to compete, but to intimidate around the league. Scouts and analysts are reportedly asking how anyone would prepare for a postseason series against a staff anchored by those kinds of arms, especially when backed by an offense rumored to include Betts. What makes this rumor feel different is the way it has rippled across the entire league. Rival executives are said to be scrambling, calling each other, comparing notes, trying to figure out whether this is smoke or fire. The mere suggestion that the Yankees could pull off a move of this magnitude has injected a sense of panic into front offices that believed the competitive balance was finally settling. Even players are reportedly talking, because when stars hear that other stars might be joining forces in the Bronx, it changes how they think about their own futures and the paths to a championship. From a storytelling perspective, this is the kind of saga that feels tailor-made for the Yankees brand. It plays into the mythology of the franchise as baseball's ultimate disruptor, the team that refuses to wait patiently and instead forces the league to react. The rumor suggests that ownership and the front office are tired of half measures, tired of being close, and ready to remind everyone why the pinstripes carry such weight. There is a sense that this is about legacy as much as it is about winning. About creating a roster that people will talk about years from now when they recall moments that shifted the balance of power. Of course, skepticism remains, and it should. Deals involving names this big are complicated, layered, and often collapse under their own ambition, yet even skeptics admit that the Yankees have the resources, the motivation, and the audacity to at least attempt something this bold. The rumor is being described as aggressive but calculated, a move that would send a message not just to fans, but to the entire sport, that the Bronx is once again the center of the baseball universe, whether it materializes or not. The conversation alone has already altered the emotional landscape of the league for fans, especially those who live and breathe every pitch. This speculation feels like fuel poured onto an already roaring fire. Social conversations are exploding with imagined lineups, hypothetical rotations, and endless debates about how such a package would reshape October baseball. The thought of Betts, Sasaki's arm, and Crochet's intensity all converging in one clubhouse feels almost unfair. And that is precisely why it captures attention. Baseball thrives on hope and fear, and this rumor delivers, both in equal measure, depending on which logo you wear on your cap. There is also a deeper narrative here about ambition in modern sports. The Yankees, according to these whispers, are not content with incremental improvement. They are chasing a moment, a statement that resonates beyond the standings, bringing in international talent like Sasaki alongside established stars like Betts and emerging forces like Crochet suggests a philosophy that blends tradition with evolution. It tells a story of a franchise that understands its past but refuses to be trapped by it, instead choosing to adapt aggressively to a rapidly changing game. As this rumor continues to swirl, one thing is certain: the league is watching the BRONX closely. Every non-answer, every vague comment, Every subtle move by the Yankees is being dissected for clues. The idea that 3 players of this caliber could be linked to one team in a single narrative has already shifted expectations and stirred anxiety, whether this earthquake results in actual tremors or fades into legend. The impact is undeniable. The Yankees have once again managed to dominate the conversation without even stepping onto the field, reminding everyone that in baseball, power is not just measured in runs or wins, but in the ability to make the entire sport hold its breath at the same time. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you stay up to date with every Yankees rumor and news. See you in the next video.